Welcome to Final Fantasy XI Math. Today I'm starting a new series on forgotten content in Final Fantasy XI. This is content that has gone largely forgotten for many years. I'm focusing on content with weird rewards that I feel need updated testing, in case maybe, just maybe, we can find something useful. I've chosen to start with the Evolith and Hunt systems. If you ever wondered what those extra books next to the survival guides were, they're for this. The Evolith and Hunt systems were from relatively late in the 75 era and came out with Synergy in late 2009. This was one of the early augment systems and it allowed you to choose augments to add to items, but you had to use the Hunt system or certain chests to get the Evoliths, and then you need Synergy to add the stats to the specific items. This was pretty quickly forgotten as most of the augments were very weak, and further limited by requiring specific weather or family of enemy. There was even augments that took just a few minutes off of a 2-hour timer. Who would ever care about taking just a few minutes off of 2 hours? And this is where I got slightly excited because they aren't 2-hour timers anymore. If you're mastered, they're only 45 minutes. So it wouldn't take a lot to be a lot more impactful on a 45-minute timer than on a 2-hour timer. Thus begins my research. Now, BG Wiki didn't have much, so then I went to the non-BG Wiki, where I found a page showing this. Minus 3-minute Evoliths, and you can wear 5 slots of gear. So this got me kind of excited, because if I could take 15 minutes off of Soul Voice, that would actually be impactful, right? Now, back in the day, 15 minutes off of 2 hours, I mean, okay, but you're using 5 inventory slots for that. I don't know that it's worth it. But 15 minutes off of a 45-minute timer, especially when your songs can last 15 minutes with the Bonanza horn, that's actually nuts. But let's not get too excited. This is just one wiki page. We need to dig deeper, and we need to figure out how to do this. So in addition to the non-BG wiki, I found a BG forum thread. Yes, that's right. They were a forum before they were a wiki, as well as a live journal. That was somewhat helpful. So my mission is to get the Evoliths, then add them to gear, which means I gotta make the gear and I've got to level Synergy to be able to etch the gear. And then finally we need to test them out. So how do we get the Evoliths? Well, the wiki page nicely lays out what type of Evolith each NM hunt provides. They always provide a specific type, although the sizes are not very accurate on this page. So first I try Rambook because it doesn't cost points and it gives Soul Voice Evoliths. So may as well start with that. But it only gave size 1 and 2, which are both only minus 1 minute. So then I tried the Fayu the Sea Below, which costs 45 points. It only gives 20 back, so I'm losing 25 points per kill. But it actually does give much larger size Evoliths. But now I gotta find a way to farm more points so that I can afford to farm that. So after looking through the whole list, I noticed that the Voidwalker NMs are on there, and they get 40 points each. Now you can only do one hunt at a time, and you can only do a new one if a game day has passed since your last one. So you want NMs that you can fight quickly and which give a lot of points, and the Voidwalker meets both those needs. But if I'm going to go through the pain of hunting the Voidwalker NMs, I may as well do the first half of an MP weapon. So I now have the first half of a Varsha done. And it turns out pretty much all the NMs along the first half of a MP weapon all can be hunted, so you can get your points all the way along, and then by the time you're done, you got the points you need. Great. Now for Bard, the base gear I need is very high level Clothcraft, but I don't need a shield or anything, so since I play at odd hours and didn't really want to bother anyone, I just went ahead and leveled Clothcraft to 97. So good news is, leveling crafts is actually pretty cheap and easy these days, so keep that in mind. But yeah, so we did all that. Meanwhile, Bubbles was out there farming the NM endlessly. And while Bubbles continued farming that NM to try and find the larger Evoliths, I then started leveling Synergy. And I just kept leveling synergy and kept leveling synergy. Synergy is kind of slow to level. At least it's very cheap, especially if you level alchemy so you can get the fuel cheaper, which of course I did. So I mean, I had to level alchemy as well. Yeah, so I'm good at grafting now. We've done our crash course on grafting. Now I wasn't sure what level of synergy I needed, so I ended up leveling it all the way up to 64, only to eventually find somewhere saying I only needed level 40. So we went with that. But the good news is I've got plenty of levels to spare, and according to the live journal, I need some kind of HQ, which is kind of a weird thing for synergy, but okay, sure, whatever. So we have extra levels. So we should, if there is some kind of HQ going on, we should be able to find it. Okay, so I've gone through, I've farmed up the materials, and I made all the base items now, having leveled Clothcraft to be able to do that. And my synergy is high enough level. So now to start trying to etch them. Now, in order to etch, you need the Mordant 75 from the Synergy Enthusiast, which costs the Ponzas of Cinder, which you get from doing synergy. So you need to have like completed some synergy at some point. The good news is completing each item gives you more cinder than the item costs to make, so you will cap out your cinder very quickly at 10,000, and then you'll never have to worry about it again. So you get your more than 75, you trade it into the item. Now, you'll find you're not getting the augment you want at first, because it's actually the second augment is the one you care about. The first one you have to do first, though. So any element will do. I would avoid light or dark because that just makes your final augment a lot more of a pain, because the second augment is light element. And so if you use light or dark, then you're having to use opposing elements for your final augment, which is annoying. Anyways, choose an element, augment it, then you can trade it into the enthusiast again, and it'll tell you what the max size you can get is. And here's where we're starting to find some problems, because it's saying the max size is only 3 for the feet, legs, and hands, 4 for the head, and 6 for the body. But we need size 6s if we want to have a good result. So we got to figure out how to up this. Now, the live journal talked about having to HQ them. So I'm like, okay, I'll just spam it a bunch. Maybe we get something higher than the max. Nope, it seems to always just be the max or less, and less is usually from if I don't perfectly match the elements. So I try to always perfectly match the elements, and I seem to always get pretty much the max size every time. So not sure what to do there. So then I found this page suggesting if I were to make them all Eber colored and then etch them, I could increase the max size by 2 per slot, which would be a big deal. Then I'd be much closer to my original goal. So I went and farmed up the pigment, cleared all the etching, changed the colors, and then started trying to etch again. And for the first augment, yep, just like it says, I got a wider selection of elements available for my first augment. Not that I care about that. But then I get to the second augment, I trade it into the NPC to see the max size, and it says it's the same max size as before. And when I try augmenting it a bunch to see if maybe it secretly can go higher, it does not. So unless I'm incredibly unlucky, it appears that I am still limited to size 4 on the head, size 6 on the body, and size 3 on the rest. And just to add that up for you, so size 4 on the head is minus 2 minutes, size 6 on the body is minus 3 minutes, and size 3 on the rest is minus 1 minute on each of the rest. So that's a total of only 8 minutes. But we've got another problem, because in this whole time, while I was figuring all that out and doing all that on Jakey, Bubbles was continuing to farm that on him. and still has yet to see larger than a size 5. If I can't get size 6, then we lose another minute. So now we're down to only 7 minutes over 5 slots. It does appear that the BG forum was the one with the correct sizes here. And so, we should give them credit. Once again, BG to the rescue, even when it's still just a forum. Well, since we're here, we may as well put it all together and see if we are actually saving 7 minutes before I start dropping all this stuff to save my inventory. Okay, here we go. That's not 7 minutes. That's 3.5 minutes. Oh, jeez. I'm guessing they cut the amounts in half when they changed it from 2 hours to 1 hour. So we did all that and only saved 3.5 minutes off Soul Voice. I guess I don't have to worry about finding the size 6. If making it 4 minutes instead of 3.5 isn't going to change that this is useless. Hopefully, this at least saves the next person who thinks of trying the Evolith system sometime. I think we can conclude that Evoliths were a bust. Let me know if you want to look into any other forgotten content. And I'd like to hear if anyone has any positive things to say about the Evolith system. I guess at least I got the first half of a Farsha done and leveled Clothcraft and Synergy way up, so it's the friends we make along the way, I guess.